need yet that was not in there.
Sure. And we're happy to provide that to you.
Okay.
You asked about the completed contracts with Barton Mallow and Rock. The exhibits that are missing, we provided that to you as well.
Okay.
We provided quarterly, and Tori's going to speak a little bit to this, but the business and job recruitment reports that the Neutral Compliance Party compiles and approves, along with Barton Mallow, we provided that to you as well. You asked last month about aerial drone shots for the CJC, and we provided you those as of August 29th.
Okay.
And so I think we're going to be able to provide those at our updated meetings, and so you'll be able to see, the progress as it occurs.
Right. I just think it gives a different perspective, being able.
We went back to April, so April through July, you have all of the environmental reports that you requested as well. And we're prepared to discuss some of the budget issues relative to the environmental portion of the project as well.
If you don't mind, as we go along, we'll ask you if you're prepared to answer them. The environmental, I noticed that we're, budget-wise, I think we're slightly over the budget already on the environmental. And I know that was a lot of the questions that came about the last couple of meetings, I think, is where we were at. And so what is the number that we're at right now as far as the budgeted amount for?
So, and Steve, you can speak to us as well about the particulars in terms of what work they've done on the site, but there was in the definitive agreement there was a budget of $500,000 for environmental unbudgeted environmental work. At this point, we've received bills from the developer and SME of $736,000, so $236,000 over that budget. That is an amount that is split 50-50 between the county and the developer. One of the things that we had to look at upon, and why it took so long for us to tell you that we're confident with that number, is because we wanted to make sure that those bills were accurate and that the items that were put into those invoices were in fact unbudgeted costs and not things that should have been caught or earlier in the project. And so with the help of CGL, we were able to kind of fly spec that, and we are confident in the number that as it stands today in terms of the invoices. And so it's a part of the contract. We're working with the developer to divide those costs and get them paid. And then there still may be other environmental costs that as we continue with construction that we will discover, and we will go through the same process of making sure that those are things that are appropriate, and then we'll divide them per the terms of the definitive agreement.
So where will our portion come from? Is there sufficient dollars in the budget to account for that?
There is. It'll come from the county's contribution amount. It's not, there's not a separate line item that we have on our side of the ledger for it, but we do have funds available to do that right now.
We do not.
We do. We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
But at some point, we're probably going to have to provide some type of supplemental appropriation for that.
I'd hate to speculate because I just don't know what those costs would be.
Okay.
But certainly we will continue to keep you abreast of whenever we discover new things, determine that the costs are appropriate for the county to share 50-50 in, and we will bring that to you at these meetings or any other process that you'd like, and we will all determine whether it's something that there's some separate appropriation required for.
Okay, all right.
But I just don't want to speculate at this point.
Okay.
And then we also have our monthly CJC report in the similar format that we've that we've provided in the past. And so,
All right, good. Commissioner Varga?
Excuse my eating lunch. I seldom eat lunch, so been instructed to. Can you find out what threshold that you're gonna have to come back to the commission, so at least we have some idea in advance?
we will.
Thank you.
That's what we can do.
Okay, continue on. Did you have more?
No, that's all from now. You did ask some specific questions relative to CGL and the team, and there's some process that started yesterday in terms of additional work with the end users, being the sheriff, the HVCW, the courts, that began with other members of CGL's team that I'd like Steve to speak with,
Okay.
speak to.
Sure.
And also I know Victoria has a report that she'd like to update you on in terms of bid package 4 and flesh out some of the numbers relative to workforce participation that you've asked about. So we're happy to start that, or if you have questions and like to jump in, we'd be happy to
Okay.
address them then.
All right. Steve or Victoria, whichever would like to, okay.
Just leave me in the time.
Relative to the CGL contract, we have lots of more people than just me and Phil working on this project. There's a whole team out there, Sacramento, New York, Kentucky, Atlanta, who are doing work on this project. As you probably know, our contract is set up in basically two halves. There's a monthly rate for our on-site team, and there's an hourly rate for other tasks that are in our contract. Currently, we have 3 tasks that are approved right now to spend hours on, that include document review, which takes a lot of effort. We just got the latest documents to review beginning of this month. It's like 1,600 pages of drawings, spec book that's got several thousand pages in it. So there's people, we use a Bluebeam session. If you're not familiar with that, it's a cloud-based system where the drawings come up, you can make comments on them, and then everybody sees those comments. We then collect all those comments and send them back to ROC HOK for their review and comment back to us. The other activity we're authorized to proceed with is transition activation. That's a bit fewer people, but not less hours involved. That's just basically started a little bit. We had 5 people up yesterday that met with all the end users to try to get that process started. It'll obviously take a lot more hours as we get further and start to move. That's going to be a lot of activity there. And lastly, the other task we've been authorized to proceed with is FF&E coordination. And that's twofold. We have to coordinate what ROC is buying, make sure they're purchasing the right stuff, and what the county is required to buy, which includes IT and most notably medical equipment. So we have people working on that coordination as well.
Those funds have not been expended yet, just so, I think that was one of the questions that you asked. And so we're in the process of talking with the end users and making sure that we are all on the same page in terms of what money's spent, but nothing's been expended at this point.
Victoria?
Thank you, Victoria Ennis Edwards. To give you kind of a quick update, the reality is right now, if you think about it, it's the skeleton of the project. They've done all the demolition, they've done remediation, they're now doing foundations. I think they're about 3/4 of the way with that. We have not gotten deep into the actual construction. When you go by the sites, you kind of just starting to see bones and pieces sticking up, so to speak. That being said, bid package 4 just kicked off. On Tuesday, they held the first pre-bid meeting. So bid package 4, as we talked about before, is the largest package with the deepest breadth of opportunities. So within bid pack 4, you're looking at about 15 different broken down segments, groupings. The first one that was released was on Tuesday, and all of those groupings are going to have a mandatory pre-bid meeting. Meaning, if you've made the list and you show up and you want to bid, for example, it was masonry, roofing was part of the grouping. So if I wanted to do roofing, I had to get to that pre-bid meeting. If I was not there, your bid would not be accepted. Part of that is to ensure that you have reviewed all the base information. That's where, again, Barton Mallow and myself will reiterate the workforce component, which is you have to have a minimum of 51% of the labor on that project has to be Wayne County residents. And then looking at a minimal spend of our funding for the project being with Wayne County businesses. So we talk about that. And there is a form we review with all the potential bidders if they win a contract. They are going to have to accept the terms and agree to them. So they know that upfront, they've acknowledged it. There's another form where they want you to think about it. Don't just say, I'm going to do it. They want you to think about it, how are you going to get it done, and give an outline plan to that. So currently, you may have heard radio spots. I know I sent Jay one of the last pushes of the flyer. The reality is some of our vendors are probably sick of us pushing information, but I'd rather bombard you over and over with it than you say you never got it. There was a huge push to make sure that all businesses that were interested could meet that September 6th deadline to make sure they could get on the bidders list. So that happened. Of that, there were 67 different firms. Proudly, we can say currently, over half of those firms are already currently Wayne County certified. There's also a multitude of those who either are in process where we have the application, or they are in the county and they have not submitted yet. So I think our numbers are going to rise even more so. So to at least start off with a deep pool of county vendors was good news. We also had 2 certified veterans, with a few of them, again, who have not completed the process. And then we had 26 of those were also certified women and/or minority-owned businesses. So right now, the pool is looking good. Not yesterday, I'm forgetting what day it is. Tuesday was the kickoff for the pre-bid. From that pre-bid meeting, they were able to, later on that day, get the plans. So they have the opportunity as a bidder to start reviewing the plans, looking how they want to bid it. The bids for all of these are broken up into either a universal, which is I'm going to bid on the whole project as a whole, or they can break it apart. For example, if I want to bid on just the roof for the JDF, or if I want to bid just on the roof on the sheriff's administration or the courts, you have the ability to be able to either pick pieces or you're going to bid on the whole project. So it allows for more of what they're saying, a more even multitude of folks who could be primes. On this one specifically, they could have up to 6 firms on site that are considered primes for one entire area. So in a lot of ways, that does give us more chances. Every single release will have a mandatory pre-bid. And they're trying to get in a cadence of every other Tuesday is a pre-bid. You will get the documents that next day, and then there's a 3-week increment before the bid is due. That way, they're going to be able to get through that. That being said, when you think about 15 components in every 3 weeks, the bidding for bid pack 4 is going to take us all the way through fall and into the winter time for it to be done. As soon as there's either an addendum or an update, Barton Mallow pushes it out to everybody. We get a copy as well. A lot of times we err on caution, and we'll send it out as well. That way we know everybody's getting it. If there's a date that's extended, so we try to be another arm of communication. The owner's advocate as well has it. They send it out, so we want to make sure that we're definitely covering everybody. And then with that, we're probably going to do another wave, again, of more informational. Again, every time, Jay, I try to send him the information, and it's shared down through your offices, and then you can get it to your constituents. If they're not, also, keep in mind, bid package 4 is only one piece of the pie. There are still huge opportunities with the ECI, and that's early contractor involvement. Those are like your electrical, you have Motor City, you have Limbach. So there are huge sub-tier opportunities going down that have still not been let. So sometimes it seems like there's not a lot of information. Well, there's a reality. We don't have a lot of bids out there yet. So everything will be forthcoming to you. There were a few questions asked the last go-round. I wrote them up, but if you give me 2 seconds, I'll go over them. That way, if you hear something, you can ask me a question in the moment. One of the questions was, what is the verification process, for example, for county-based residents? All contractors, as you heard me say, they verified and they attested we will take this on. They're required to fill the information out, certified payroll per worker, in a application. It is sent to Barton Mallow. Barton Mallow will then review the information, and when I say Barton Mallow, it also is our neutral compliance person, which James talked about earlier, which is Cheryl Bolson. They look at the information. So we're looking at who he or she is, where they live, what skilled trades they are. Are they iron worker, masonry, what are they in? Those hours are counted. What is sent to me in that report is also a snapshot. They are required to send me a copy of a current valid driver's license, front and back. Additionally, motor registration for their car and/or voter registration, or even if you want something like passport. So we take 2 official government documents for the verification of where their address is. Also, we can approve or deny. We had one where the addresses don't match, or there's something a little off about it. We can ask for additional documentation, which I have. There have been times where we deny someone because the front of the license stated one, and now we see the address sticker on the back. They're in Wayne County, but when I look at the dates and add it up, you haven't been here in long enough time. If those hours are denied, it cannot be counted towards that goal. So the contractor then can be found lacking or missing the goal. So it is a cycle of incentive and checks and balances to ensure that it's not just, slipping the documents through. As we go further and longer and more people are on the site, we will do, we call boots on the ground pop-ups. We might see you and say, hey, can I see your driver's license? And do some baseline verification. So that's one part of it. Again, with the businesses, Barton Mallow won't count them until they show them the certificate that comes from us, and that comes through us in-house, so that we know who is actually on the project and they are Wayne County certified. So that's part of what we've been doing. One of the other questions that you will see is, what was the makeup of the owner advocates team? The team for the owner advocate that we work with is Catherine Niemer, she is the project executive. We have Nate King, who's a project advisor, and he's construction specialty. He's an engineer by trade. And I'm sorry, Catherine is an attorney by trade. Again, we have another project manager who on the team who is Shante Haggerty. She is also an attorney. She's part of the joint venture, the Mentor Venture, working with the smaller businesses regarding contracting. Tiffany Curry is the outreach specialist, project outreach manager. When we engage the community, whether it be radio, in writing, the workshops, working with the database, Danielle is her backup. And you'll see IT next to her because she does all the project analysis with the data, just so you get an idea. And then they'll engage sometimes with Kathy Ned for communications, writing scripts, as well as advertising. So that is the current team, the owner advocate team that we work with on a daily basis. And then last but not least, the question was, could you get a listing of the 17 firms that we talked about that was previously mentioned? So we have a listing for you, and these are the primes. We are off on our cycle, so you're going to be getting more information. My cycle of reporting with Barton Mallow, I'm getting the next wave on the 24th, so you will get additional information such as the subs underneath these primes. So there will be more robust reporting. So I apologize that we didn't go deeper, but, we wanted to answer the questions, and I also will never report what I can't verify.
Right.
So there's another report that'll be coming for October that will give you additional information regarding subcontract. And again, are you county-based? What's the percentage? We'll have all that as well available.
Great. Great.
One
Commissioner,
point, if I could add to that, Commissioner Ware, and I believe others may have indicated that they'd like to hear from the owner's advocate. We think that the most appropriate time, the first appropriate time to do that would likely be in our October meeting with this committee. That will be roughly a month after we have had bid package 4, and while there still will be bids coming in, as Victoria said, at least there's some amount of work that they can report in terms of, you know, what results that we've seen. We'd also at that time like to bring in Tori's counterpart at Barton Malo, Dennis Mitchell, who she works hand in hand with the owner's advocate as well as with Victoria from the general contractor to help make sure that the business inclusion and workforce numbers are, God willing, exceed what we have written in our agreement. And so.
so you're talking about MCL Jasco, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
correct.
yeah.
And so, you know, we can do that in October. I don't know the holiday schedule and how November and December are impacted in terms of the meeting of this committee. My sense is that it will probably end up falling to some extent around Thanksgiving, maybe. I don't know, but we'll work with the committee whenever they'd like to,
We'll
whenever
get
you'd like
with
to hear
you
from them.
once we take another look at the schedule, but October would be a good meeting, I think, to have them come in and add to the discussion and the information that we're getting. And Commissioner Marecki first, and then Commissioner Ware.
Thank you. My husband's a commercial builder, and every project they have, it's hard to even get people to work on the project because there's so many projects going on. So if a company, I'm assuming they're going to get fined if they don't have the 51% of the Wayne County workers, or is that going to slow our project down if we have to adhere to, if companies have to adhere to this and there's not enough workers for all this?
One of the reasons and one of the things that we've done with Barton Mallow, there is a component with the unions for not only apprenticeship work, so if we can't find you, we're adding apprenticeship work and boot camps to it, where we are literally funneling people and trying to support the union. Because, I mean, that is a reality right now in Southeast Michigan, just with all the construction boom. So the reality is we have helped in working with them in layers. If you cannot, we have to understand why you can't, talking to the unions. Some people are partnering, and that's part of the creativity, I think, looking at the scheduling, where they're tag teaming, where you might have 2 people that are both plumbers. You might have 6, I might have 5, we need to rotate somebody. So the reality is they are getting very creative. The apprenticeship programs are starting to explode, as well as a lot of the contractors are willing to take apprentices on, and as long as they're coming through the union shops and/or either the union shop or the union-approved and/or union boot camps, we're able to then backfill and count that towards the goal as well.
So even these apprentice programs, they would all be Wayne County certified as well, all the workers, even if they're,
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who is skilled trades, we are going to verify for that. So that's not a loophole to get around it. The reality is we had to create layers to help them meet that in some areas. But yes, we certify. Anybody that you say that is on the project working and you're saying you want that credit for them, we verify everybody, every layer down.
And that's also one of the reasons, if I can add, for the early contractor involvement process, and not just to control costs, so that for some of these very large pieces of the project, that the contractors know, okay, I'm going to be working on this, and so frankly, they can start reserving employees early on so that we don't run into that problem, because the competition was stiff. I mean, there are some. We think in the county, and I think it's true, that ours is the most important project going in southeastern Michigan, but the reality is there's some other pretty high-profile things happening. And so the earlier these larger contractors can know, yes, I'm going to be a part of this project, the more they can lock folks down and make sure that they have employees available to work on our project.
okay, that's good, because you'd hate to see this delayed, since it's a several-year project, because someone hasn't met the 51%. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ware?
Thank you. So for the record, because Mr. Heath and Ms. Ennis, they know that I disagree with them about the company coming today. Because just because they're going into the fourth bid, we had several bids before that, and this project has been going on a while, so it wouldn't hurt that they would come and give us an update up to this point. But for some reason, they hadn't.
So
I'm not finished.
pardon me, ma'am.
Then the second is, I feel uncomfortable. It sounds like Ms. Ennis is doing a lot of work checking ID, birth certificates, and all of that. I thought all of those duties had to be performed by her. That's a lot of work. Half of the time, they don't live in the city or the county anyway. They use their parents' address or relatives. Thank you. I'm finished.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to that, Victoria, at all?
Yes, it is a lot of work, but it's part of what we do, and part of the commitment for the whole division. So, of course, I don't mind extra funding or a gift or two of a grant if anybody knows about it. Shameless plug right here. However, the reality is, if we want it done, I would feel better knowing how we set some of the standards, and what we try to do is streamline it the best as possible. I've been in this kind of space for over 15 years now, and it is a passion. And we want to ensure, at least as we go forward, we're creating new standards and making sure that, we do it the right way. So unfortunately, sometimes you just got to grind a little harder in the beginning.
What's the
Mr. Ware.
percentage of Wayne County workers that's working now on the project?
The latest one we had is 53% of Wayne County workers. And understand, as we've said, as you get more skilled trades that are on, once you get the skeleton up, the steel work is done, and you get the walls up, you're going to get even more workers on. So currently, they're at 53% Wayne County residents.
And what's the lead company? I guess contractor, would that be the appropriate?
And I think it would depend on what area. Right now, while they're doing foundations, like Dixon is on there, and he's Detroit and Wayne County, minority owned. He's pouring foundation work and working with them. When you're talking about steel, currently, Barton Mallow is self-performing the steel. So right now, those are pretty much the only components on the premises right now. And that's why we said, we're into bid package 4, but the first were very small breath, if you think about it. The owner advocate, actually, just for informational sake, not an excuse, just information, they did not come aboard until really bid package 3. And then bid package 3, as I just said, for example, was steel. So you only have like 2% that Barton Mallow was not self-performing. So that's why we kind of focus on bid package 4, because that's where you get that breath and that opportunity for other, contractors to come on the project, and we'll be able to see more. A lot of the stuff you've seen thus far to control cost have been self-performed, as well as there hasn't been a lot of opportunities.
So my last question is, since they just came on bid package 3, but they've been holding resource fairs that I wasn't invited to. So I'm trying to figure out where did that fit in, the resource fairs, career fairs?
Bid package 3, it seems like everything should be, 1 month. There was a lot of lead time for bid package 3. So that's why when you look at the dates when everything started, remember too, some of the ones very, very early on weren't necessarily the OA sponsored one. Barton Mallow started doing a few of them beforehand too. We shared all those flyers. I will double check to ensure that we're not having a delivery issue. But we've had several, and there was a huge lead time in between bid package 2 and 3. 3 and 4 are a lot closer together, so I'd probably say there was like 4 months in between, and that's where we did a lot of the workshops trying to ramp up, knowing that the bulk of the opportunities were going to be coming in bid package 4.
Thank you. Okay, now, was you trying to say something, Attorney Bee?
I've thought better of it, Commissioner. So,
When I said, were we hiding them?
no, No, I wanted to reiterate what Victoria said about Jasco not starting until bid package number 3. And then just wanted to confirm that, you have been very upfront with us in terms of your dissatisfaction. So just wanted to let you know that we heard that loud and clear. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else, members? I did want to go over a few things that I had. We've got the names of the 17 contractors. There's certainly some of them that are self-explanatory what they're doing on the project, but if you could, just the ones that aren't, like Dixon, I know I've heard the name, but foundational.
Dixon Construction, he is doing the foundation work.
Okay.
So-
If you could get it, maybe just update that sheet and just,
This is part of the breakdown that I'm talking about that is coming in the next report.
okay,
And I'll give you an example. Number 15, you're seeing DeVero and Sessions. That is actually a joint venture. They're county-based, but they're joint venture, and it is a woman-owned, minority-owned joint venture, and that's Dumpster. And then they're doing.
I don't think your microphone is on.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you, yes. That is a joint venture, and it is a MBE, a minority-owned joint venture, which is great because it's county-based, and we also have that component. Those are dumpsters, and then I will be able to give you the drill down. So the next report is going to give you name, specifically the category that they're performing, and then what we've asked for is the tiers underneath them. So what you're looking at, think of them as a prime in that area. But a lot of times when you see the word prime, think of it as the umbrella. There are a couple little spikes underneath there supporting the umbrella, which is the different tiers of the subcontractors. So we've asked for that level, and now we're far enough along in even their prime contract award that they've been able to drill down and get people underneath them. So the next report that you're going to see, that is, these 17, you're going to get a lot more information out, and that's going to be all the breakouts. And I think it's going to answer a lot of the questions that you're going to even want to ask before you ask them.
Okay.
Okay?
So we expect to see that in October then.
Yes.
Willie, okay, and we have MCL Jasco representative is going to be here next month. We received I think we received the Barton Mallow monthly report from August. Are there previous reports that we didn't get yet? I mean, we haven't received them yet, but,
We'll make sure you have all the ones that
Okay.
that they have produced, yes.
okay. And the meeting, I appreciate the meeting minutes and the summaries. We only received, that we received so far are involving the CUP. Are there others that you have on hand that you can provide?
So we'll look back, and I think there are several meeting minutes that we have not provided you with. We will get those to you as well.
Okay, thank you. And the AMC documents, transfer documents, are we
Yep.
still at
Yeah,
mercy of Detroit, the city?
There's been no change in terms of the city's filing of those documents. Our last time we were in touch with them was probably about a month ago, but we will follow back up just to confirm that they have not made a move on those.
Okay. And I'm asking that we get periodically or quarterly updates on the contingency fund balance too. I don't think we got that in any of the information that you provided to us, to see where we stand on the contingency fund. And can we get that, say, next month?
Yes, and one of the things that was also on our list that we just have not gotten to was setting up a meeting with Commission Council to discuss that as well. And so that's something that, a scheduled meeting that we owe the commission through her, and we will have an update for you hopefully by our next meeting.
Okay. And we've already explained why that because of Dubiel, Matt being on medical leave, why we didn't use the template that was worked out, because I understand that, as you mentioned, I think at outset, that you worked that out with
We
Mark
did have an
Adamo.
initial meeting with Mark, and we had some changes going back and forth, so it may not be the exact same template that he presented, but I think we're close on that, and we'll be able to have some easier format for you the next time we present our numbers to you.
Okay, And that was also your meeting, going to be meeting with Felicia about the change order process, correct?
Correct.
And we're going to get, do you know where that's at?
Well, so there have been no additional change orders other than the 5 video arraignment courtrooms that you approved when we initially did that. We were notified yesterday, or maybe the day before, that there may be the need for a change order discussion regarding roughly the neighborhood of $50,000 regarding a covering that the sheriff's office would like to provide additional privacy for inmates in and around the toilet areas. And there's some discussion about what the most appropriate covering would be in terms of ease of cleaning and that sort of thing. And so that's a conversation we're gonna have. I will tell you that from our perspective today, I'm not certain that what our end user will be requesting should be a change order. In fact, that it may in fact just be covered under the outline specifications in terms of what should be. And so I'm just previewing for you a conversation we are going to end up having
Okay.
with the developer, but whether it's going to, manifest itself into an actual change order is not certain.
Okay. And the last thing I have is just that if we could just make sure that everything that we receive, the committee receives, and Victoria certainly, she did that on hers. We know who that came from and could be identified who providing that information.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have. I don't know if other members have any additional questions. And we'll make sure members get a copy of the CD, and Darcel is going to do that this weekend, I'm sure. But anyway, anything else you would like to mention or add?
No, just thank you again for the opportunity to discuss this with you.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, anything else?
Next item, E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Are there any such other matters? Seeing, what's that? Oh, okay. And move on to public comments. Is anyone from the public that would like to speak? Got a card?
We have a card from Ms. Faith.
Oh, Miss Faith. Welcome, Miss Faith. Get you set up here in just a moment. Do you want to let her come up, just to come up to the table? Always good to see you.
Welcome to this honorable commissioners and board. For the record, my name is Miss Faith, and as I was on my way to another meeting which was canceled, that's why I'm able to come to this one. The UAW workers were having concerns, and then as they spoke them to me, I became concerned. They have a healthcare cost concern and fair treatment of their coworkers, which are temporaries. And I myself used to be a temporary in the past, so I know the concern for the temporaries. A lot of times they don't have the healthcare costs or insurance or anything that they need to help them while they're working. I don't have children myself, but I'm sure some of them do. And a lot of the UAW workers do have children, they have families, and the health care costs can be astronomically high when you have a family. So I wonder if the commissioners can get together and find out some resources to help them with their jobs, as well as as far as their health care costs, and the fair treatment of the temporaries as well, so they can have what they need being workers there.
I appreciate that. I don't know how much the commission can do, but I know one of the things that we just talked about today is about expressing support for their efforts to get a new contract. And The temporary workers issue, again, is not something that we can deal with, but
Okay.
it is a major problem.
It is.
It was originally put in place by an agreement between the UAW and all the auto companies, and
Yes.
it's turned into a never becoming full-time position.
Yes, it is.
And
It
and it leaves those workers that I think it's $15 an hour and very limited benefits, if any.
I see.
And so it is something that I'm hoping will be addressed when they
Yes.
negotiate the new contract.
Oh.
But it's not something that we can really do anything except, I think, express support for what they're trying to do.
Okay, I guess within the laws, you mean, and the policies and procedures there?
Right.
And the protocol?
It's something they have to negotiate with the UAW and GM.
Okay.
And the UNW, then it'll be either Ford or FCA, the other company that
Sure.
bought Chrysler, that will take over, will be the next unit to sit down.
I see. So one thing I was thinking of too, they have for the Neighborhood Arise, they have volunteers, and perhaps they could get more training that would make them more economical, viable employees for the company, and they perhaps could get more.
That might be a great suggestion that we, can try to pass on to the UAW on negotiating.
Okay,
And see
then-
if they can do that. But it's not something that the county commission would have any.
Have something, who would they, perhaps I can discuss this with you later and ask you
Okay,
about it, and get
yes.
some more resources for them.
Sure.
Because they said they're going to be down there about, I guess maybe every week they're going to be down there until something changes.
Right.
And then I can perhaps take it down there to
I'm-
them.
I'm concerned it will be a long time.
Yes, it will. So,
Because it's taking something that's been going on for 15 years or more.
Yes.
And trying to make changes to that. And I know GM has to make their shareholders happy.
Yes, that's
Or
for
they feel they
sure.
have to, but they're going to also have to be fair to the employees.
yes, sir.
But thank you so much for being here, and I
Yes.
certainly will pass it along to the regional folks at the
Wonderful.
UAW.
And perhaps all companies can do the same,
Yes.
make us
yes.
viably strong.
Yep, thank you.
And thank you for letting me
Thank you
speak.
for concern, too.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you've always got a message of being concerned about folks all around the Wayne County.
Well, y'all have shown me concern. Why not give back what you've been given?
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Mr. Chair, or
Adjournment.
Mr. Clerk? All right. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.